Good.
Um, so after you did project manager, then
Mhm.
what'd you do next after that?
That was my first exposure to CROs. And I wanted to get the CRO experience because I've heard you got to get CRO experience. And I'm like, CRO experience, like I got sponsor, I got site, so it was just natural progression. You hear, you got to get CRO experience. Okay, let me go and get CRO experience. So that's where I've spent probably the last uh, 10 years in CRO world. From time to time it will be back with a small sponsor, but CRO world is where I spent. But that's not where you have to stay, or and you can come in, come out. There always will be CROs, but if you get that opportunity to be at a small biotech or a pharmaceutical company and you love it, stay there.
Hmm.
That's perfectly okay too.
Okay. And so another thing I found interesting that you mentioned is it sounds like you did all of this career progressing in San Diego.
Hmm.
Can you speak a little bit to I guess the job opportunities available for people in San Diego? Because my understanding is that's one of the hot spots for clinical research in general, all over the
When I say
country.
when I say hot, it's hot, and that's why I
Yeah.
say biotechs. That's the biotech hub. There's so many biotechs out there. It's all in California. It's not necessarily in San Diego. There's a lot in San Francisco area as well. Just California as a whole has a lot of companies. A lot of companies. I think I found out about 3 new companies in California just in the last month, and I was like, really? I didn't even know that. And as I
Wow.
say, you have to, just put in some of those keywords, and you'll start to see. You may not even realize. I know in San Diego, where was I? Can't remember the area, but there's like a hub. Oh man, I lost my freeways and everything like that because it's been about 7 years that I've been in Texas. But yeah, I can't remember it's probably I don't. I think it's off the 405, it's the 5 freeway where it splits off into the 405. There's a area that's like a biotech hub out there, Encinitas, something like that. It's a biotech hub, and you'll be surprised. All of those office buildings, pharmaceutical companies all throughout. So that's a good resource, but it's not the only one, because if you go to the East Coast, there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies on that side, more bigger pharmaceutical companies, but California is a hub for biotech for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So typically when I talk about hubs, and let me know if I'm missing any, I talk San Diego, LA, Raleigh, Durham, and North Carolina.
Hmm.
And then you've got up northeast, you got all the pharmaceutical companies. So I'm talking New Jersey and like
Hmm.
Connecticut area. Those are the giant hubs that I know of. Are there any other ones that you know of?
Pennsylvania, like Philly, outside of Philly,
Hmm.
is another good one. I mean, I've been to a couple corporate offices out there, but I think you hit the main ones. Oh, Boston, Massachusetts. I
Yep.
forgot about that. Boston,
Yep. Yep.
Massachusetts. That's another big one, especially for biotechs. Yes, I forgot about. Yeah, I forgot about that. Boston is a big hub. Massachusetts. Yeah, I hear a lot of companies coming out of Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are good. And then for people to, I guess, if they're going to relocate, you want to relocate to one of those places. I'm partial to Raleigh, Durham, just because the cost of living is very, very low
Yeah.
by comparison.
Texas.
But you know, go where you feel like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Texas is a very good cost of living as well. And I when I moved from San Diego to Texas, I kept my same job. I didn't even have to change because I was a CRA at that time, and you're remote. So I just told my manager, "Hey, I'm moving over here," and they said, "Okay." And that
There
was
you
it.
go.
And now my hub was out of George International instead of San Diego. So it can be as simple as that. You don't necessarily need to get a new job too. You could just speak to your manager about it as well.
Yep. Now, I've had a couple people email in over the years from Texas.
Hmm.
I found Texas can be kind of hard
Hmm.
um, to find clinical research jobs. What do you
Hmm.
think? What do you think about that?
Just depends on where you're at. Dallas and
Dallas or
Houston,
Houston?
really big. Those are really big hubs. I remember being a CRA, and I didn't even have to travel because I had enough sites within driving distance between Houston and Dallas, and I
Oh,
think I
wow.
had to go to Oklahoma. There's tons of research sites in Houston and Dallas. I don't know as many in Austin and San Antonio, but Houston and Dallas, yeah, there's tons. It's tons.
What?
I didn't even have to get on the plane.
Well, I guess I was referring more toward like CROs and biotechs and pharma companies because, when you're
Mhm.
first getting started, you're most likely going to have to go into the office. They're not just going to, well, maybe after COVID it might change, um,
Yeah.
but typically you're not just going to be working from home immediately when you first start in the industry. So it was either you work for sites or are there other opportunities for biotechs or CROs in the Texas area that you found?
Yeah, okay. So that's a good question. So a couple of things. Usually when I had to go in for training, I had to go into the main headquarters. So the Raleigh, North Carolina, the
Mhm.
Philadelphia, the New Jersey. It wasn't, I could have been associated with this local like division, in wherever I was. But they usually, when they send you to like an onboarding training, they usually send you to the main headquarters, and
Right.
those main headquarters are back east. But here recently, I haven't had to go in for a training, man, 7 years, 8 years. So I think more so the new higher orientations are online. So you technically can be anywhere, and you just have to ask during the interviewing process, what is your onboarding like? What is your onboarding? And sometimes they'll tell you, oh, you have to come in for a week, or you have to, oh, it's all online. And they'll tell you during the interview. And that's a good interview question at the end when they say, do you have any questions? And you say, what's the onboarding process like? And then they'll tell you, oh, you have to come in for new hire orientation, or you have 3 to 5 weeks to work on your SOPs, etc. So I would say don't let that stop you. I would just say do some research, but sites availability in the Texas area, plenty of sites. CROs or pharmaceutical companies, you really don't need to be in the same state as that company. They're hiring people remote all the time. But if
Exactly.
you want to go in the office, then yes, you have to be in the office where that place is.
Yeah, I think COVID has probably changed that a little bit because it used to be
Exactly.
you had to be, especially for your first job. I mean,
Yeah.
clinical trial assistant,
Mhm.
zero months of experience. They want you kind of near the
Oh yeah.
office. But
Exactly.
now
Yeah.
things
First.
have probably changed a little bit. They might be more open to more remote work from the beginning. So that
Exactly.
only helps everybody else. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so
And and I do want to clarify there for the study coordinator and the research assistant positions, those aren't typically remote positions. Those are in office. So you do
yep,
need to be wherever you're going to get that opportunity to learn about a clinical research coordinator role or a research assistant role, you got to be there, and you have to be willing to go in, because that's a hands-on type of job. You have to see patients, you have to, process lab draws and ECGs, and that's a hands-on type. That's not one that you can do remote. That's not a typical remote job at all. But some COVID caveats, but that's a hands-on job.
yep, exactly right.
Mhm.
Because I know even in the height of the pandemic, and it's coming back a little bit now with the Delta variant.
Mhm.
Um, they were coming into the office, a few days a week. They still had to come into the office to, do patient stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but of course, they were working remotely when they didn't have to do that.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I used to have clinic days Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursdays. I was doing my classes, and then in the afternoon, I would come and do paperwork. So yeah, there are typically where the study coordinators schedule it, where you are not in clinic every day if you can help it, and you do have some paperwork, kind of get yourself organized and together days as well.
Yeah.